Shall we kick things off? Mark, you ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it, Jeff Kramer says. Love it. Love that energy. That's what I'm talking about. Woo. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for taking time out of your day to be with the Efani and Crypto Tutors team. We're very excited to have you. For the folks that chose to join us live, really excited to have this conversation, this necessary conversation around securing your personal information on your mobile devices. Obviously, crypto being one of the biggest, hottest topics of discussion. I want to make sure that, as best we can, each of you walk away from today's conversation with actionable takeaways that you can implement immediately. Be that person in your friend group, in your family, in your company that is championing the severity of protecting your mobile devices. But before we get into the conversation with Mark, VP at Efani, one of the best mobile security providers in the world, let's start with a video that will set the stage around why this conversation is taking place right now and why this is the place to be.
It can destroy your credit and compromise your most private details.
Stealing identities and $150,000 in cryptocurrency like Bitcoin.
1 minute, Rob Ross's investment accounts added up to $1 million. The next, zero.
80% of the attacks on cell phones are successful.
What?
I had no signal.
And I saw it suddenly go dead.
But West says the hackers soon realized they could make real money using the same techniques to steal cryptocurrency.
Crypto Tutors, Crypto Tutors, Crypto Tutors, hey.
It's a way. Making money in my sleep? Making money in my sleep. Wow. Well, for those of you who haven't seen or experienced what the impact of a security breach can mean, I hope that video gave you some perspective. It's a really, sad state of affairs when you realize that everything that you've been working so hard for is gone in an instance on account of a security breach. So before we get into all of that, just to, level set a few housekeeping rules, we want to make sure that, all of your questions get answered. So if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. And at the end of the conversation or towards the end of the conversation, we'll get to as many of them as we possibly can. Now, my name is Lisa Francoeur. I'm one of the co-founders of Crypto Tutors. It's nice to meet each of you. You probably got connection requests and invitations from my team and I. It's great to have you here today. But I wanted to give you a little bit of background about Crypto Tutors. So what we specialize in is simplifying cryptocurrency through e-learning, one-on-one tutoring, edutainment. You heard some original crypto rap music. And we're also producing events like this webinar to ensure folks have the knowledge and the wisdom that they can apply to protecting themselves, but also generating wealth for themselves and their communities. So with that being said, I wanted to also introduce to you Mark from Efani. Mark, welcome. It's great to have you. Tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're here today.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot, Lisa, for having me on. This seems to be a really timely conversation with the data breaches going on at the same time while crypto's rising. So it's a good partnership in terms of you're educating people on how to grow their wealth and invest in crypto, and we're helping secure that wealth. So I think today is going to be a very good call. So a little bit about my background. So I've been in security/cybersecurity since 2001. So in a sense, I guess I'm a journeyman in that. And so I have done mostly enterprise security. I've spent about 15 years working with and for mobile operators as well, half of that in the cybersecurity industry. And as of recent, I am now running sales and business development for Efani, which is a secure and private mobile service.
And Mark, when we think about the implications of having our mobile devices hacked, with crypto, for example, you're talking about a $2 trillion market cap. So there's a lot at stake. Now, above and beyond crypto, you have, more than likely most of us are accessing our accounts, our bank accounts. We've worked so hard over the years to accumulate, our 401ks, money market accounts, all of these different revenue generating, assets that we often access on our mobile device, which after seeing the video is very disconcerting, because it seems like, as the CEO of Efani, Hasib Awan mentioned, 80% of mobile hacks are successful, which I know we'll talk about in a bit. But Mark, tell us about your story. You're the VP over at Efani, a mobile security provider, but if I'm not mistaken, you yourself were hacked?
So I was. So
tell us about it.
Yeah, so that video brings back nightmares. I mean, it's perfect because that's exactly how I felt. So imagine I have 18 years in enterprise cybersecurity, and I had my phone account set up so that I had the paid for antivirus, the paid for VPN. I had in my profile with the operator that I'll never make a change over the phone, and that I require, a passport and a driver's license of myself in order to make a change. Mm-hmm. And I still got SIM swapped. Wow. And it happened to be when I was driving down a deserted highway in Arizona late in the evening. So I just got off the phone with my father, letting him know I was going to be there in 45 minutes. And the phone just drops out, and I get a message on my phone that says no network detected. And I was like, oh my God, I know exactly what happened. Wow. And so all I see is desert. I have no other phone. There's no Walmart. There's no other store. And I'm like, for 45 minutes, they have control of my mobile account. And I tried to convince myself, like, yeah, this can't be happening. And as soon as I got up to the garage at my father's house, the Wi-Fi kicked in, and I had 6 password resets scroll up the phone. And so what I thought happened turned into, an absolute nightmare. I rushed in and called the operator, and I did it from my mobile phone. And I'm talking to them. It took me a while. They thought at first I was the hacker. And then I finally got verified. And then I'm like, by the way, how am I using my phone to call you? I got SIM swapped, and you verified that. And they're like, oh yeah, they ported it back. And so now that actually scared me even more. And so until I found Hasib, the founder of Efani, I didn't sleep for like 90 days, because every time I went to bed, I'm like, oh my God, am I going to get SIM swapped at 11 p.m. or midnight, and they're going to port it back? And even if I woke up at 3 a.m., I would look at my phone to see if there was an LTE symbol on it. So it just drains you mentally as well as financially, and it's a nightmare. So I'd imagine that some of the viewers can probably agree if they've been SIM swapped as well.
Let's actually, and I'm so sorry to hear that happened to you. And it almost makes me feel like, no one is spared, for someone who's as tenured in the mobile security world, for that to have happened. I think that puts in perspective why it's so important to have this conversation and take the necessary measures to fortify your mobile devices. But let's hear from the audience. We have the poll question related to whether or not folks have been SIM swapped ever. Has this ever happened to you? All right. And so it looks like the vast majority of folks have not been SIM swapped, have not experienced any mobile security hacks, at least. That's excellent to hear. We want to make sure that remains to be the case, which is why we're having this conversation. We're going to give you tips and tricks that you can put into effect. But even still, for the folks that did get hacked, my gosh, especially during the Q&A, we would love to have you, drop your questions in the chat. I see questions coming and comments coming. Keep it coming. This is a conversation. We'll do our best to get to as many of them as we can, but we see you. And so
I did notice that was 8%. That's actually pretty high. I mean, I think that's about the norm, but if you think about 8% across all of the people that use mobile phones, that's, kind of crazy. So, maybe it's a little bit higher because people are coming to view this particular type of webinar, but 8% still, that's pretty high.
It's 8% too high, Mark, and that's why we're having this conversation today. We want to make sure that 100% of the folks that are here that are exposed to this conversation are able to protect themselves. So recently there have been a number of mobile operator data breaches. Think about a month ago, T-Mobile had a breach, and this happens more often than not. And so let's talk a bit about why it's so important for people and also organizations, companies to protect themselves. Mark, give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing is what these data breaches result in, and they seem to be now like every other day. So if you Google like Fortinet data breach right now, in the last 24 hours, Fortinet had to come out and admit that a hacker has released 500,000 passwords of their VPN. So this is getting crazy. So, the Ledger hack was a couple 100,000 people. And of course, now the hackers know that all those people own crypto and they invest in crypto. So the irony is they can't hack the Ledger device, but they can now use that information to SIM swap them and use phishing attacks where they'll spam them with email or SMS, and they inject code to grab what operator they're on, what the device ID is, and even what the phone model is. So then when they go to, let's say, T-Mobile and say, my name is Mark Kreitzman and I'm using an iPhone 10, this is my device ID, and I just got it stolen and now I got an emergency, how is that support rep now going to say, oh, this must not be Mark, he's got all this information on him? And so every time these data breaches happen, that information gets used to hack, and then the people that can't hack, they then sell that information on the dark web. So whether it's a dating site, whether it's a crypto exchange hack or Ledger, it doesn't even have to do with crypto. It could be a dating site, and they get all this information on them, and now they can impersonate them. And even if you have $1,000 in crypto, if somebody's overseas living in a cheap country and they can SIM swap you and get $1,000, they can have a nice life, for the next week or two over there.
Gosh, I mean, like from my crypto OGs, Mt. Gox, Bitfinex. I mean, recently Polygon had an attack where it was like 600 million. I think since there have been a number of the funds, a number of the cryptos returned. But the point of the matter is that, and we led with the video, 80% of mobile hacks are successful, Mark. Like tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so where that 80% came from is there was actually a Princeton study, and the intention was to determine how vulnerable are the operators to SIM swaps. And so you can Google it, and if you just Google Princeton SIM swap research, and what they did is they had 50 people set up accounts, and then the small research team then went and tried to SIM swap those 50 people, and they were successful 39 out of 50 times. So technically, 78%. And it was across the five largest operators in the US. And they also, if you read the article, it's interesting, they were able to get information like birthday, when they started their mobile service with that operator, and other key pieces of information. So even though they might not have been successful 100% of the time, they could then wait. If they had a second phase of this, they could probably go back and SIM swap, the rest of them, and get a couple more of those. So from our perspective, it's really hard to determine, is it 75, is it 85%? We have to keep in mind that they're going after crypto users, and they're doing their research. So that Ledger hack by itself gave them their mobile account, their name. They know that they're crypto investors, their email account, all of that. And then when they spammed them, so when they go to SIM swap them, they're already completely prepared. And so, this T-Mobile hack with 48 million, 40 million of those people were people that applied for credit. So that means they gave the information out that they use, that kind of information out to get credit from T-Mobile. And so that's kind of scary, right? And so those are resulting in SIM swaps. And we're certainly getting the calls from people who are either been victims, whether these data leaks, create victims out of them, or they're just trying to make sure it doesn't happen. And so we take a lot of pride in adding them. But we want to make sure that you don't get SIM swapped and your crypto stolen before that happens.
And Mark, I feel like one of the common themes that's like strewn throughout this entire conversation is just like, how terrifying even the prospect of being hacked is, especially when you're talking about, a mobile device. And so, Mark, you keep referring to SIM swap, SIM cards and SIM hacking and swiping and what have you. Tell us, for the folks that are not familiar with the term, SIM card, like what is that? Why does it matter? And why they should be paying a lot of attention to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people that call us saying that they've either been a victim or they want to make sure they're not a victim. When we talk about SIM cards, a lot of them don't know what it is. So some people, since they started using cell phones, they go to Verizon and AT&T and they're just given a phone, they finance it, and it's like, here it works. They get voice data text, it works, they download apps.
I was that person before I got Efani.
And so the reason this is important, because a lot of people believe that that they have to have their phone stolen in order to get SIM swapped, or in order to get mobile hacked. And so the reason that this is especially important is because a lot of people think that the SIM card points them to the network, like Verizon or AT&T, but it's actually the network that allows their SIM card to work. And so you're billing, when you pay your account, you're paying it to the operator, and that's what allows you to come in. So when a hacker SIM swaps you, even if you take that phone and put it in a safe, for 6 months and you're thinking it's safe, it's actually might even be more dangerous because you might not know you got SIM swapped, because the hacker is technically asking the operator to move the network from pointing to your SIM card to pointing to the SIM card inside of their phone. Now you're paying for your data, voice, and text. They own your account. So if they were to go to one of your apps, hit password reset, they're actually the ones that receive the reaction from that. And so it's crazy. And this is why people can SIM swap each other from pretty much anywhere in the world.
And again, right, I feel like that's one of the biggest myths that you just dispelled, which is you don't have to not have your phone in your possession to be hacked. You could have your phone, none the wiser, but still someone remote access your device. As though that weren't terrifying enough on this tear of like things to look out for. Mark, we talked about SIM swapping. What are some of the other mobile attacks or vulnerabilities that folks need to be aware of?
Yeah, so there's a couple growing threats. So a lot of people know, or they're getting educated the hard way on the SIM swaps, of course. But the other threats, and also people know that when they go to Starbucks or they go to a hotel and they're using Wi-Fi, that they should use a VPN. So I think most people are pretty good about that, and that they're using a VPN whenever possible. And so, the threat, of course, of that is if somebody's close enough with a, Wi-Fi sniffer that they can, do a man-in-the-middle attack. But now what's growing, the growing threats are man-in-the-middle attacks on the cellular side of it. So a couple examples are, you can build what's called an IMSI catcher for about $600, and they're also called Stingray devices. And they're like 4x6 motherboards with a couple antennas on them. You plug it into your laptop and you just get this free software, and you can cell tower spoof people. And so if you live in the middle of an apartment building, a condo building, you go to like a crypto conference in Vegas, and that's in your backpack, smartphones are dumb and they just connect through that device. So now what they can do is they can listen to your voice, they can record your phone calls, they can passively intercept your text messages and see unencrypted data. And the operators, whenever I see these commercials, are talking about how like 4G, 5G has security built into it. But what these devices do is they actually slow your connection down to 3G or 2G, and then you lose all that security. And so now the data becomes, unencrypted. Your phone calls become open, and it's kind of wide open. So that's just one example. There's SS7 attacks. You can Google SS7 attacks WhatsApp, and you'll see how these people are downloading free Linux and then free SS7 software. And you just a mediocre hacker can now intercept things in the call setup protocol that makes all of the cellular calls and text messages possible. And so these man-in-the-middle attacks are growing, and the fact that they don't have to be 20 feet from you anymore. You know, where I'm at right now, I actually looked on the map, and the nearest cell tower is about 0.6 miles.
Yeah.
So they could actually be next door or 6 houses down from me, maybe even a quarter mile. And they could use one of these devices to monitor me. And so this is not necessarily a growing threat against like an individual.
Yeah.
It's more of like businesses. It's state sponsored for people that travel. If you're an executive that travels as you go to different airports, different countries. But certainly if somebody wants to target you, they can use these type of attacks.
Wow. I think, you know, let's hear from the audience. We have a poll question. We would love to gather your thoughts. Why don't we go ahead and share that? Okay, well, while we're waiting for that to appear, do you feel like your mobile carrier keeps you secure? Let me go ahead. I'm going to say yes, because I have Efani. So there's that.
Oh, now you're going to skew it.
No, I can't vote anyway. It doesn't matter.
Oh.
I'm a panelist, so. Let's see. Okay, so 79% mark of the audience said that they do not feel as though their mobile carriers, they're secure. Based on what we're hearing and what we've seen in the videos that we've shared, I guess I would conclude that that is so. Yeah. But that's what we're having this conversation today. You know, that's why you take time out of your day to learn about what you can do to protect yourself.
Well,
and so
one thing I'd like to add to that, if you don't mind, Lisa, is that, and this is what happened to me, and this is what every victim that calls us says, is that not only are the operators are great technology, right? You can call, you can text, you can do, video for pennies, around the world. It's awesome. But technology has just surpassed their ability to protect customers. And what happens when you get SIM swapped or you need any kind of support, like when you call them up and say, I just got my mobile hacked, no matter how it got hacked, they go into liability protection mode. So not only do they not really protect you very well of getting hacked, but when you get hacked, they shut down on you totally. It's all liability protection, and they're actually protecting the hacker more than you. And so I even had a police officer call. I had police officer called their law enforcement line, and he was told that he had to get a subpoena. So unless you have the money and time to go get a subpoena, to just find out simply how you got screwed over, not necessarily solve the problem, but just to find out how you got screwed over. Believe me, and the people that got SIM swapped will probably tell you the same thing that are on this call.
Mark, again, right, I think that you're raising a lot of red flags. And again, one of our goals is always at Crypto Tutors to ensure that, whomever we interact with, there are actionable takeaways. So Mark, tell us a little bit about, what are some of the tips and tricks that you can share with our audience that will help them to at least start the process of protecting themselves? Yeah,
so I'll put together a list of 11, and I'll go through these, but anyone who's viewing this, as I go through this list, because we really want to crowdsource this. We want to make sure that everybody gets protected. So if you have ideas that I haven't mentioned, or you got hacked in a different way, then put that in the chat room or let Crypto Tutors know, because we're going to keep developing this document. These tasks that I'm going to go through are based on the pattern of people that call in and say, I got hacked. And because normally when they call in and they got hacked, at least when I pick up the phone, it's pretty emotional. And so the calls get lengthy. And so they tell me their story and we can kind of relate. And so I understand what their patterns are. So the first out of the 11 is one of the biggest mistakes is that people use an email for like their Gmail to set up an Android phone, or their iCloud, their Apple ID. And then they use that for the login of their crypto exchanges or their crypto wallet. And so that is like setting up bowling pins for these hackers, because when somebody SIM swaps you, like if they get your SIM swap you and you use Gmail on an Android device, the first thing they're going to do is get into that email, because they're going to hit password reset. they're going to get into that. If they get into that email, they can now see what apps you downloaded from the App Store.
Oh my
And so
God.
if they saw that you downloaded Coinbase and Gemini and Exodus and Citibank and Visa and all these different apps, they can now just go down the line and go, forgot password, and see what kind of reaction they get. So that's the easiest way for you to get, SIM hacked and for them to get in. It also, if that happens to an employee, can they get into their work email? There's a major crypto asset exchange in New York where a SIM swap actually allowed the hacker to get into the backend systems of that exchange. And so, it can actually hurt the business as well. The second thing is sort of in line with that, is that maybe you use a different email from what you use for your Apple ID or your Gmail for the Android, but you're using the email for family and friends, again, for your exchanges and your wallets.
Yep.
And so I talked to a woman who's the double engineer of Silicon Valley, and she even admitted she built up a community of about 60 or 70 people,
Yep.
and she was teaching them how to invest in crypto. And she herself had built up a $500,000 investment portfolio of crypto. And she was using that email ID. So she gets SIM swapped, and then by getting into that email, they then figured out how to get into another email of hers and another. And she used authenticator apps. And so they actually reset her authenticator apps. They reset her crypto accounts. And because she was using that email ID to promote with these people, who knows, it could be a friend of a friend of a friend who said, hey, you should, talk to this woman. She's, awesome, helping us, invest. And then she gets attacked. And that's, there's a lot more to this story, but she lost $500,000 just like that. And those are kind of the calls that we get all the time. The third item is that you want to make sure that for your proprietary accounts, like your bank account, your brokerage, your 401k, and certainly your crypto, that you're using logins and email IDs that nobody else knows.
Right.
So for example, we will talk people through like, hey, you should set up a Proton Mail account because it's encrypted and help, but don't tell anybody about it. Just keep that to yourself and use that for your proprietary accounts. Create one, create 3 of them.
Okay.
And it's great because people will go out, post on Instagram. I just made $5,000 today on Bitcoin, and that's one thing that's probably not great to do. But if you're using your emails to promote that, you're just giving away too much information. The fourth item on the list is a feature on most of the newer phones that a lot of people don't know about. And that is that the phones like an iPhone and Android have a pin lock feature for your SIM card.
Okay.
And so every carrier is a little bit different. So you can actually lock and have a code for that SIM card. So if you did lose your phone, if it got stolen, then if they pulled that SIM card out, it's going to make that SIM card dormant. It doesn't prevent you from getting SIM swapped. It just means that, if you were at Disneyland and all of a sudden you notice, oh my God, my phone's gone, that, if somebody stole it 2 hours before, then when they pull that SIM card out, then, at least they can't hack you that way. The next item is that we recommend that you review every proprietary account you have. So a lot of people might not have logged into your brokerage or your 401k, these sort of side accounts for a while, and realize that maybe your significant other or your ex, their phone number and their email are on these accounts.
Yep.
So, your authentication is only as strong as the weakest link on there. So you may think, hey, your phone number is all secure and you've got that covered. But if there's a second number on there, second email, information in there where somebody else could call in and easily, spoof you, that's pretty dangerous.
And Mark, one quick point is that, we talked about the family plan and that not being secure. I feel like that kind of ties into what you just shared around having multiple lines, because if one is breached, then, the domino effect occurs.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the loopholes for the operators is that you have an account you can log in, period. Because if somebody can hack into that, well, now they get out all your family members. But it is pretty common that if, let's say, a husband gets SIM swapped and then that problem gets solved, well, that hacker most likely got into the account and they saw what family members and what their phone numbers are, and now they can come back and they can SIM swap the wife. And so your account can be, again, as strong as the weakest link of that family plan. So we don't recommend family plans. It's nice to have because you get a discount and you get, good deals on phones, but you are sort of leaving yourself unsecure in that sense. So we have a lot of customers, for example, that will have like 4 or 5 lines, and then they'll pull one of those out, switch it to Efani, and then they have all their proprietary accounts linked to that. So that's a great question. The next item is that you want to use authenticator apps. So a lot of crypto investors, if they're new, they're kind of scared, like, do I want to make this so secure? I keep hearing about people like losing their, crypto and forgetting their key, their master key and things like that. So, you got to learn about authenticator apps. It's really easy once you understand what they are. And there's a lot of videos on how to do it. So basically you just download an authenticator app, you link that to like your Coinbase or
an authenticator app being like Google has one, Microsoft has one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Google Authenticator, Duo, there's probably 4 or 5, pretty well-known ones out there. And so I've got multiple crypto exchanges myself, as well as I do cold storage and all of that. So, I try and mix it up, multiple phones and everything I can. So at a minimum, you definitely want to use authenticator apps, because if you're using just SMS type for your authentication, like you're just setting up bowling pins for these hackers. The 7-1 is just obviously, use a quality antivirus and VPN. You just want to make sure that, you just don't be one of those people that get caught at a Starbucks or a hotel, and that the antivirus is scanning your app, so you don't download an app that has some kind of, leakage in it or has a bad reputation, because it's quite possible that the app actually, passes all the standards for Apple and Google, but there's like, they got a bad reputation. They have a rogue employee, or they're selling data on the back end. I mean, how do you prevent that? I mean, so the checks on these apps are really more about like, is there built-in issues, not necessarily is there any kind of intentional issue to steal people's data.
Yeah.
The 8th one is that we recommend YubiKeys. So if you are a little tech savvy, and YubiKeys are YUBI keys. So you can Google YubiKeys. These are physical devices that you can buy with the USB port that will fit with your device. So whether you've got an Apple or an Android or Mac Pro or Windows, you just buy the YubiKeys that have the right USB port, and then you can authenticate like your Coinbase account with the YubiKey. And what that means is that it's hardware. Yep. And so it's just this little device. You can put it on a keychain. You can buy like Ubicon allows you to buy up to 5 YubiKeys, so you could put one on a keychain, store a couple in a safe. Keep one at the office if you wanted to. So if you lose one, you have another one. And what that means is that somebody can't authenticate into like a Coinbase account without that physical hardware. If you want the ultimate storage, then you want to learn how to move your crypto into cold storage. So like a ledger device. So, once you move it onto a physical device, you can put that in a fireproof safe. So obviously it's a physical device. You just want to make sure that, you store it safely. And then when you want to pull money out of it, plug it into your device and put crypto back onto your wallet. So we recommend that, you keep as little on the, public type exchanges and wallets that's only needed for you to do whatever kind of trading you want. Or to be able to pay bills, do whatever you want with it, but try and store it on cold storage if possible. It really hasn't happened in the US yet, but also, be mindful of your physical security. So there's been some, I've seen some like posts on Facebook and YouTube where there's been some people that, brag about crypto in like Venezuela and other locations, and they end up getting, kidnapped, or I think there's a guy in Venezuela that ended up getting killed. So if you have a wallet and you get mugged, then if you only have $100 in it and some credit cards, that's, kind of the max that you can lose. But if you're walking around with a crypto wallet and you've got access to, $100,000 in Bitcoin, for example, it kind of just is common sense that at some point in time, the thieves are going to realize that. The last thing that we recommend, and obviously this is a biased choice, is that you use a secure and private mobile service. And so that's what Efani does. And so because I'm a victim of the mobile hacking, that's why I actually started working for Efani, because I was so outraged and so mentally drained. And I knew this was going to explode as crypto rose. And so now it's kind of nice because I'm now part of the other side of it. Like, okay, great. Now we get to protect people as opposed to feeling emotionally drained about it. But you definitely want to secure your mobile service.
Yeah, and I think that for someone who has experienced, being hacked, there's a different level of compassion and, understanding, and also experience in why this is such an important action to take. One other thing I'll add is that, if you're buying any, cold storage wallets or hardware in general, don't go through third parties. Make sure that you buy it from the manufacturers themselves versus, an Amazon or what have you, because you just never know who is who's selling that. Even if it looks like it's packaged right, et cetera, be careful of that. Go right to the manufacturers and order from the manufacturers.
Yeah, and that goes for buying cell phones off of Amazon or eBay, especially. And if you do that, you want to make sure that you do a factory reset on it, because they can easily load that up with spyware, things that mirror your communications and send it out to another location, and you definitely don't want to do that.
And let's hear from the audience. We have a poll question. We would love to gather your thoughts. We gave you a lot of tips and tricks, which we hope you took notes, and you're going to give you a copy of the recording as well. But are you personally invested in crypto? How many of you are? How many of you are not? Obviously, Mark and I are. Awesome. The lion's share of folks, 88%, are invested in crypto. And to hear that goes to show you why it's so important to understand what are some of the measures that you can put in place to protect your hard-earned crypto. So
yeah, absolutely. And also all of those tips and tricks are not just for crypto, but they're for your bank, your 401k, your email, your work email, your personal email. All of that. So, you can use those to protect all of your assets, not just crypto.
I appreciate the fact that you said that, because we focused a lot on crypto, but the truth is that Efani protects, every aspect of your mobile device. And so actually, Mark, that brings me to my next question. Efani has, a variety of offerings that cater to consumers, or that can cater to individuals, offerings that also cater to businesses and companies. And, I'd love to hear from you, how Efani's offerings are, what Efani offerings are appropriate for individuals versus corporations. Tell us a little bit about, what kind of options do folks have with Efani?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start out with a little bit of information about our customer base, because that's kind of the cool thing working at Efani is we have tons of individuals, and I would say out of the individuals that probably 85% of our customer base are crypto investors. Because part of the reason is because not only do we provide SIM swap security, but we also provide insurance against a SIM swap. But we have crypto investors that are worth millions and millions. It's kind of ridiculous how much some of these people have. We have some of the biggest names. We estimate that out of all the big profile of people that are doing like on Twitter forums and YouTube channels that have 500,000 plus type followers. Example would be like Charlie Shrem, and the only reason I can mention his name is because he's out there promoting us. So he was one of the crypto guys. So we actually saved the day for him at like 3 a.m. This was pre-COVID. He got SIM swapped in when he was, I think he was in Manhattan at the time. and called us up and said, "Hey, can you help?" And we grabbed his number back, and he's been a customer, a very happy customer since. We have people from Hollywood. We have directors, producers. We have some people that you would see, every week on TV, and some people you'd see in movies. So one day I'm talking to a professional athlete. The next day I'm presenting to a CEO of, a big crypto type company. We have CEOs of some of the biggest cybersecurity companies in the world.
So wait, hold on a second, Mark, because that's really important. Like, you have CEOs of some of the largest cybersecurity companies in the world. That goes to show you how, when we talk about military grade security, what we mean. And also, Mark, do not forget to mention the $5 million in insurance that Efani provides as well.
Yeah, and that's per individual. And if you wanted to buy more, we can certainly talk to somebody about that. And so one of the reasons we have CEOs of cybersecurity companies is because it'd be quite embarrassing if the CEO gets SIM swapped. And they're trying to sell, enterprise grade, cybersecurity to other companies. And so a lot of times we start at the CEO, and then it kind of works its way down, as opposed to going to the bottom and working its way up. And so we have customers that are both individuals that are buying just because they're investors at home. We have C-suite type executives that buy it and protect themselves. And so sometimes it starts out where we have 2 or 3 C-suite people that buy it for themselves, and thus it protects their corporate. And then we also now have enterprises that are buying, a single, under a single contract, a multi-year, 20 lines, 30 lines, 50 lines of Efani. So we have 2 different mobile plans. So we actually are a mobile plan. So one of the questions people have about Efani is, do I still have to pay AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and then pay you? And no. So both of our mobile plans are actual mobile plans. So you pay us and you get unlimited data, voice, and text. The first plan is what we call Efani Safe, and it's a basic plan. And it's for US residents or for Canadians that are willing to have a US number. And the main highlights of that is that it provides SIM hack security, security against SIM swaps, and a $5 million insurance policy from Lloyd's of London against a SIM swap. So we've never had anybody SIM swap. There's been people that have tried, haven't come close. So we're protecting a pretty large customer base of like the biggest targets on the planet for these crypto people. And so that's the Efani Safe plan. It's $99 per month. 60-day money back guarantee if we don't satisfy you. And the $99 also includes 10 gigabits of global data roaming. So if your phone is eSIM compatible, like if you have the iPhone 12 or iPhone 11, most of the 11s, I believe, are eSIM compatible, or the latest Samsungs, then for that $99, you're getting your unlimited data, voice, text, you're getting your insurance, and you're getting 10 gigabits of global roaming. So if you travel, it's like a no-brainer. The other solution we have is called Black Seal. And this is like the coolest cybersecurity solution, like I think on the planet. I've represented, a number of enterprise type security and cybersecurity solutions for Microsoft and Cisco and a couple startups that got acquired by those companies. And I think Black Seal by far is like the coolest solution. And so Black Seal is a global solution, and it builds upon Safe. So it's got a special SIM card. And our SIM cards are encrypted. And again, it provides you global unlimited data, voice, and text. And it's got a cloud solution that's part of it. It encrypts your voice, your data, your text. And then the cloud solution, in conjunction with the SIM card, also detects and notifies the end user real time when somebody's trying to do a man-in-the-middle attack and they're trying to be obtrusive into your cellular communication. So if somebody's trying to do like cell tower spoofing, listen to your phone call, they're trying to send you like malicious spam or spam calls, then we're going to block that out into the network before it ever reaches your phone. We can also block like your location. So somebody obviously can volunteer, like they can take photographs, tag them, post them on Facebook. That's one thing. But there's hackers, if they're good, have the ability to remotely find out like where you're located, and through the SS7 network.
Okay.
And so, I didn't realize how, enterprises would even care about this. So one, South Africa, there's people in the gold mining industry, like you don't want to get, kidnapped. In the oil and gas industry, I learned that they spy on each other. So exploratory teams go to, an island off of Indonesia or whatever. So it's like, it saves them money. If they see like, a group of 10 people going out to explore a certain area, and they can track them, then they're going to do it. So it's used for sort of corporate, spying, but also hacking as well. And then of course, state sponsored type, activity. So Black Seal is the ultimate in the mobile crypto, in the mobile security and privacy, because a lot of enterprises actually piece part these type of solutions. So one is they rarely ever, if they can, protect the SIM card from SIM swap. And then they'll have like a corporate VPN, which is a piece part. They'll have an MDM, also called an EMM, that manages some things on the device, but it's all piece parted. So what Black Seal does is we brought all of that together in a seamless solution. So your Black Seal mobile plan is secure and private. It even has a network level VPN into it.
Okay.
So we can actually be your provider of VPN, but if your company has their own VPN, we can actually integrate that into Black Seal and make sure that any end user that's on Black Seal is going to be VPN'd in from our SIM card. So there's no app necessary. And we're going to keep them totally secure all the way into your environment. And, it's amazing. So the sales cycle on Black Seal is so fast. So we've got a number of family offices. We've got a crypto exchange where we a number of people like across their whole C-suite. And they're like they're like the 10th largest crypto exchange in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's growing. And we actually just updated our website today to include some of these features. We've been closing enterprise deals in a stealth mode to do this sort of quietly.
Sure.
And now it's like we're ready to come out. So today's sort of like you're sort of our coming out party. And I think you're the perfect person to like pick to do that. So.
Oh, I mean, listen, we knew exactly what we were doing when we brought you to the virtual stage, like obviously at Crypto Tutors, we are heavily indexed on ensuring that folks have the knowledge, the understanding, and the wisdom to apply that knowledge, understanding, and wisdom and really harness the power of crypto. And not just to generate wealth, but also understanding how the technology functions and making sure that we offer folks access to people like you, Mark, and Efani, so that they can protect themselves above and beyond crypto is, falls right in line with our mission. So let's hear from the audience, of the folks that are here today. Mark shared a number of great tips. How many of you would like to learn more about Efani services, whether it be on an individual level or on a corporate level? Let's have the poll question.
Yeah, and while we're waiting for that, just to kind of add in for anyone here who's from an enterprise, just to let those people know that basically what we're doing for the enterprise is we're setting up them as like their own private mobile network. And we tie that into an admin portal. So if you have an IT services team, you have an MSP that you outsource it to, then they actually get access to the admin portal. And the only thing they can't do is SIM swap you. Of course, we don't allow anybody to SIM swap themselves. They can provision your own employees. It gets all the alerts. So you're going to see if you have people that are getting malicious spam, getting their location, people are trying to locate their location, trying to use like a man in the middle attack on them. And so not only does it update that end user real time, but it's actually updating that portal. So if they have some kind of SOC group that's looking for alerts, then that's key to enterprises. And so a lot of the enterprises, when they see that, they seem to love that.
Thanks for sharing that, Mark. And about 40% of the folks that are tuning in right now are interested in having conversations with you and your team. I think that you've done a phenomenal job of providing a lot of insights as to what we can do right now. And for the folks that, are not open to, hearing from the Efani team at the moment. We hope that you were able to get some great, actionable takeaways as we promised from the outset of the discussion. We want to hear from the audience. So what I'm going to do now is I want to take a couple of minutes just to ask you, Mark, some of the questions that the audience has for us, okay? So let's kick it off with Justin. Justin asks, is your phone more likely to be hacked if you have had the same phone number for over 10 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I don't know if length of time matters, but one of the trends that happened, for example, on the Ledger hack, is that these people were getting these phishing attacks. So, getting spam calls or getting spam emails and texts, trying to inject this code and steal information from them. So then they think, okay, well, I'm going to clean this up and I'm going to switch my phone number. And so what happens then is they're taking an old number that their name, all their information has been associated with for a decade, getting a new number. And so what do you think the hackers do? Is that they go try and grab that phone number as quickly as they can. And where there's a will, there's a way. So they're going to try and grab it, whether it's through bribes, try and grab that number quickly. And that's still going to be associated with you on the internet. And it's easy for them to impersonate you. So anytime somebody comes to Efani and asks us that question, we always say that you want to port that existing number over, even if you're getting attacked, even if you had been SIM swapped on it before, even if you're getting these type of attacks, port that number over to Efani. We're going to protect you. And then we're also going to show you how to try and eliminate, like spam calls and things like that. So that's a good question.
So Lori Ashwood asks, Mark, how do we protect ourselves from man-in-the-middle network hacks, and are voice over IP calls more secure than regular calls?
So voice over, I'll start with the voice over IP one because that's a little bit easier. But if you're using like Signal, for example, it's encrypted end to end, then the reputation's pretty good, and I feel safe saying that they're probably one of the top 2 or 3 that will keep you safe. WhatsApp has got some vulnerabilities in it, and so there's been some SS7 attacks against WhatsApp. I don't know of any specific examples, but if you Google like voice over IP WhatsApp breach, it's going to tell you some examples, because I know that it has happened. We've had some callers and actually it seems like it's more in Europe where this has happened, where they've broken into WhatsApp. In terms of like how you stop man-in-the-middle attacks, one is encrypt everything that you possibly can. But the problem is that unless you're using the Black Seal solution and somebody's got an IMSI catcher, or they're a mediocre hacker and they've got the Linux and the SS7 software and they know your phone number, they can actually specifically target you and do the man-in-the-middle attack. So really the only protection is that you utilize a mobile service that is encrypting everything and making sure, with us, we're creating that private network and we're encrypting the traffic into the cloud. And if 2 people, like if you're, one of the reasons I enterprise like this is because if the CFO calls the CEO and they're both on Black Seal, then you're both actually part of that private network, and your calls, your texts, your data is secured through that. Now, certainly if they're using like the Whisper app from Crypto Data, or they're using Signal, and they're doing phone calls and video through that, then they're protected.
Awesome. And so we have some international folks. Puerto Rico, a gentleman by the name of David R. says, how's the coverage in PR? And a lot of folks are, in the crypto world are moving to Puerto Rico. There are a number of tax incentives and what have you that are driving folks there. So Mark, would love to hear your thoughts on what coverage looks like in that area.
That's a great question. So we have a lot of customers in Puerto Rico. Absolutely. And so when I went to the Bitcoin conference, I had my Efani shirt on, and I was going to the Miami Beach parties with, one of the parties was like rented from like A-Rod. And so all these guys were coming in from Puerto Rico. to that conference, going to these parties, and they saw my shirt and they're like, "Oh yeah, I use Efani." And so Puerto Rico is one of our more. If I were to pick like a geographic area of that size, that's probably one of our top 5 areas for having customers.
Awesome. And then our last question to tie it up, how do we protect against SIM swaps? I feel like I can answer this. You can just go ahead and, get your account set up with Efani, the Efani team.
Yeah, I mean, you can do everything. You can have the PIN. You can, like me, like I had it in my profile, like that you have to have a passport and a driver's license. A number of our customers who got SIM swapped before us said the same thing, where they're like, yeah, I told my carrier, like it's in the notes, like I have to be there in person, and yet I still got, attacked. To give you an example of how crazy the SIM swapping is, I talked to a guy a month ago who was on Verizon. He got SIM swapped. It took him 30 minutes to get a hold of another phone to call Verizon. And then Verizon told him, "Oh no, we don't have that number anymore. It got ported over to a different carrier." Mm-hmm. And they legally couldn't tell him where it got ported to. So we had to call the other operators himself and say, this is my number. Do you own that? He finally got to the right one. It was the last one he called. And they said, yeah, we have that number, but you're not the owner of it, so we can't help you. So it took him 7 days to get his phone number back by going to the police, by doing the subpoena and things like that. And he said that for 7 days he was chasing password resets. So as far as I know, any kind of SIM security is reactive, that it's only going to tell you, after the fact. Efani was designed by, the founder, Hasib Awan, because he was a SIM swap victim 3 times. Jeez. And he was known for creating the first Bitcoin ATM. And he's part of a group that operates, I think somewhere around like 1,700 or more, Bitcoin ATMs. He was part of the early on Ethereum team, where he was going to Miami and meeting, when the Bitcoin conference was 15 people, he was a big target. And so what he did is out for breakfast and he said, I'm going to create this for myself. And I'm going to make it so that even if somebody put a gun to my head, I couldn't be SIM swapped. I couldn't SIM swap myself. And so he created it for himself. Friends of friends then were like, hey, I want this too. I got SIM swapped, called him up and said, I can't sleep. I haven't slept in 60 days. And I want to help you take this to market. So as far as we know, Efani is the only mobile service that is actually securing from the SIM card with an encrypted SIM card and backing that up with an insurance policy of $5 million and more if you want to buy more.
Really appreciate the insights you've shared, Mark. You've taken time out of your day to give us a lot of food for thought. The fact that 80% of mobile attacks are successful, I hope impresses upon people the urgency in, starting to put some of the measures that Mark, recommended and outlined in place. And that might mean having a conversation with the Efani team to dive deeper into your individual or your corporate needs. The team here at Crypto Tutors, we've overemphasized how important it is that we continue to share knowledge with you all and provide education and access to folks like Mark and his team to set you up for success. On October 7th, however, we're going to be hosting the largest diversity crypto conference ever. Mark is going to be one of our speakers, so we're bringing him back to the virtual stage. And we would love to know, do you want to attend this virtual conference called Crypto for the Culture, where we'll be having speakers like Mark, the head of crypto at Visa, the head of Bitcoin policy at Cash App, and a variety of other powerful players that are of diverse backgrounds and are allies. So let me hear from you. Are you interested in going to the biggest diversity crypto conference ever put on by Crypto Tutors and friends? Let's hear the audience's thoughts. Yes. All right. Well, we have a little video for the folks that were uncertain about whether or not they want to attend that we're going to play for you right now. So go ahead and cue that up.
Lisa, let's actually get to some of the questions. We'll play the video at the end if you don't mind, because we have a ton of questions that I can read off.
Oh, we have more questions. Oh, okay.
Okay, wait a minute. This is your time. So let's go ahead and make sure that we get as many questions answered as possible. So let me go
And
back.
there's also been some incredible stories that people have shared their experiences as well. And I think
Thank
it's
you,
important
Nina.
for everybody to just listen to them as well, so that way they
I
can
feel
just
for
hear
every
it.
one of you. That's like,
Yeah,
it is
that's been
painful.
swapped.
Yeah.
It's hard to make like cybersecurity like exciting, except for Lisa can do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a semi-boring topic, but you know, emotionally for all of you that got attacked, like one of the hardest things is when we hear that phone call and they're like, I got a SIM swapped.
It's heartbreaking.
You know, the woman was like, she lost 500 grand. In her case, they actually saw that she had crypto staked. The hacker couldn't get to her staked crypto and then started threatening her mother and her daughter that he was going to do something if she did not give up that staked crypto. Wow. That's how bad it is. And it's painful.
And anyone is susceptible, you know, anyone is susceptible. I mean, when Jeff Bezos is getting hacked, I mean, what does that tell you? He should have had Efani is what it tells me. But anyway, Iman, or anyway, got another question.
Okay, so let me read this first one off.
Okay.
Is your mobile phone more likely to be hacked if you've had the same phone number for over 10 years?
We did
that one we've already answered.
We actually answered a few.
Okay, sorry.
We went through all the Q&A ones, but there are some in the chat that were not answered. So if we could go through those, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that was why I was going to go to the Exodus wallet question, because I think that's a really good question. Mark, someone asked about the Exodus wallet, how an Exodus wallet can be hacked.
So Exodus is one of the more secure wallets. Thus the name of Exodus. You're exiting, you know, the public space. You get a, master key with Exodus. So that's one of the wallets that we recommend to people. You know, just make sure that you don't lose your master key of your wallet. But definitely Exodus is up in that top 5 for wallets for people that want to stay secure.
So do you suspect that maybe this person that got their Exodus wallet hacked was through, how do you think that even happened? Like,
yeah, I don't know. I'd have to kind of learn about
one of your 11 tips, right?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that, you know, if they can SIM swap you and they can get in, you know, different emails and try and find as much information about, and they might even find, you know, your master key somewhere, you know, if you kept it online somewhere.
Okay.
The thing is that the only foolproof method is cold storage. Mm-hmm. And so like I said about like authenticator apps earlier, one of the sort of, I would say, rule of thumb ways is, let's say you have a phone, you have an iPhone 10 and you've got a crypto app on there, and you now get an iPhone 12 and you want to move everything over. And so you move your Exodus wallet over, you move your authenticator apps over. Anything that can be digitally moved over means that it can possibly be exposed to hackers as well. Because that's what the hackers sort of, in a sense, trying to do, is move, you know, the access to your account from, you know, your phone over to their phone in the same way that you're trying to do it from one of your phones to another phone. So, you know, the way that I look at it is, even though I've got authenticator apps in use from like my small balance type accounts, you can obviously move an authenticator app to any other phone that you want. And so they look for those vulnerabilities.
Cool.
I want to ask this, if I may. What do you think about using PayPal or Venmo to store crypto? I feel like that's an important question because it's very ubiquitous. People know Venmo, they know PayPal. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so, you know, I don't have experience in terms of them storing crypto. I mean, I'm not a fan of the companies to begin with. So I find it ironic that, you know, PayPal fought, you know, the crypto industry for so long. They shut people's PayPal accounts down if they were trying to do any business that was related to crypto. And so with these accounts, like, do you own the master key? They're on an exchange. You know, if they get hacked, you know, and is it insured? So I would probably, ask those questions. So anytime, even with Coinbase, any of these, only keep enough on these type of public exchanges that you're willing to lose, because you can never say never, even though they all seem to be doing a pretty good job. And Coinbase is taking a lot of heat right now, but it's not the Coinbase's problem that's actually resulting in all these thefts that people are posting about on LinkedIn. It's actually, those are SIM swaps. And so it's actually against a mobile operator that they're using to then, reset the password. But Venmo and PayPal, I can't say that I'm big fans of them, in general. So I'm a little biased against them, I guess.
Well, one thing I'll call out, if you're not given a private key, if you're not given a seed phrase, then you're not actually custodying your own crypto. So you want to be careful of like Robinhoods and Venmos and what have you, because they're not giving you your keys. So keep that in mind as a best practice. But Nina, did you have another question you wanted us to get to?
Yeah, sure. What types of phones are most likely to be hacked, iPhone or Android?
Oh, that's a great question. So in terms of SIM swapping, there isn't a difference. So I would say my guess, based on all the phone calls that I've personally handled, people that are investing in crypto, and the fact that we have like CEOs and people that have more money than they know what to do with, they generally lean towards iPhone. So the majority of our customer base is iPhone. But in terms of the ability to SIM swap them or do a man-in-the-middle attack, it doesn't make any difference to these hackers. They could care less what you're using. So if you're talking about in the sense of actually hacking the phone itself, like hacking physically, or like a Pegasus type spyware that doesn't come through like the cellular network, it comes through like an email or a text or like an email, then or like through like a WhatsApp, then again, I think that's more of an iPhone problem on that side of it. But Pegasus and those type of threats are really more for like journalists and your political enemies and things like that, as far as we know. There's a lot of things we don't know right now.
And another question came in about which one is better, a cell phone 2FA or a YubiKey?
I would go with YubiKey myself. So the YubiKey is a physical device. And the one thing you have to be careful about is like you can actually authenticate, you actually set up authentication methods for like 2FA and a YubiKey. And so what that means to a hacker is that, hey, they're asking for a YubiKey. Is there another possible way for me to authenticate this? With the YubiKey, they have to have that physical key. So, and another option would be is we have a new partnership with a company called Crypto Data, and they make smartphones and laptops that are specific for crypto investors. And so their Wi-Fi communications are all based upon using blockchain, and all your communications are encrypted. They have wallet features on that app. All your data is encrypted on there. The only weakness they had was if somebody put like an orange SIM card in it, if they're in Europe, or AT&T or Verizon, is their cellular is wide open just like it normally is. And so we're partnering with them so that you have both this secure phone as well as the Black Seal solution. So every possible entry and exit of your communications is now secure. And what they've done is they actually built their own hardware device, which again, you have to plug into that phone and you're authenticating your access just to be able to get to, those apps on your phone. Now, if you go the route of like these really secure like encryption type phones, then just be aware that they're not like friendly. You don't buy it because you want to be a social media Instagram star. It's not going to have your, megapixel camera. It's going to have just enough features and specs so that, if you really wanted to take a picture of the ocean on a vacation, you can do it. But all the specs are designed and the software is designed to make you completely secure and not for you to be, making Instagram videos on it. So, but we do recommend those as well.
Okay, great. And I have some short stories to actually share that other people have written in the chat that I think are really interesting. One person wrote, there was a NFT artist that was invited to a company dinner and brought their laptop and had $90,000 stolen from them when they were in the bathroom. Another person wrote, fake text messages and emails come from Nano Ledger and Coinbase, or I guess it's like phishing emails or text messages that talk about data breaches. It doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, I really question the safety of my digital identity and the security of my phone. Another person wrote in the similar lines related to Acorn, has an app and an email phishing that does something very similar as well. And they were just saying how scary it is.
Yeah, so even if like there was an article I read this morning, just even like hiding your location is that somebody found an issue with Google Maps. If you were to borrow somebody's phone and be like, hey, can I use your phone to like look at my Google email for a second? And they do that. And then you go back, you actually now your Gmail starts tracking their location.
Oh.
And so, imagine if somebody goes to the bathroom, uses the restroom, and somebody actually has, 60 seconds to put something on that laptop. That's heartbreaking. It would crush me. Like, in fact, if I lost $9,000, that would crush me. I don't want to lose $900, let alone, and just because you left your laptop sitting there, that it's heartbreaking.
Another person wrote, I don't have a question, but I wanted to say that I went through a frightening hack attempt over this past Christmas related to the Ledger breach. It started late at night over a holiday weekend, started getting a password reset from my email, mobile carrier, and crypto exchange. It was extremely stressful. I was shaking so hard that my teeth were chattering. I couldn't get a hold of anyone at AT&T after hours. I got a hold of Hasib, who was gracious enough to call me and talk me down off the ceiling. Thankfully, I had a 2FA enabled and strong passwords on my accounts. They were unable to access anything, but I didn't sleep for 48 hours while I reset everything and switched to Efani Mobile. My best piece of advice is to use separate stealth email addresses for financial accounts, and don't use your legal name for any user IDs, and use long, secure passwords, and of course use Efani.
Yeah, that's scary. Like when you see password resets, it gets your heart beat up, and I've chased that before, and it's scary. And you think about what if I didn't catch that at 11:30 at night? What if I had been asleep? And I actually have a couple Delta airline pilots, because they were out of Orlando. They were doing international routes, and they said that we keep getting SIM swap when we're over the Atlantic Ocean. Like, how do these people know when to SIM swap us? So their flight takes off, and who knows if somebody's tracking them, or if somebody knows they're just airline pilots. But they may not find out that they've been SIM swapped for 16 hours, maybe even longer, if they're not using their phone. Like for me, in the 90 days until I got on Efani, I never used Wi-Fi, because if you wake up in the morning and your Wi-Fi is connected, you're getting emails, you're getting your Twitter, you're getting messages. So you might think like, oh, it's working, and then you try and make a phone call, and it's like no network detected. So I didn't sleep for 90 days. It was like I had bags under my eyes. It was terrible.
So when you see no network, that in and of itself is an indication that, you're probably you've probably been hacked.
Like you lost your mobile account.
You lost your mobile.
I mean, if you lose like the LTE symbol, then, that's just, you're out of range. But if you expect like you have a signal and then you get no network detected, then it's time to panic.
Okay.
Like you want to get to a phone quickly, and you want to call your operator and shut it down as quickly as possible. And, a lot of people forget their PIN too. So if you're not going to switch to Efani and you're like, oh my God, like what's my PIN? Because you're going to call the operator and go through the process, and they're actually going to text you your PIN. And then you're going to be wondering like, like in a sense, like, am I SIM swapping, myself? And and as you ask them, going through that process, get a feeling for, or do you feel like they're keeping you secure? And the answer are probably 50-50, like depending on what kind of rep you get. But like in my case, all it took was a minimum wage employee working at a third-party cell phone store to lie to a computer. And all they did was go to the computer and say that Mark is standing here with his driver's license and his passport, and he's asking me to make this switch. And the only reason I know that is because after about 60 days of having all of these heated calls and being lied to by the operator, I went into a third-party store and I said, you know what? This person, when I traveled, they helped me so much. I thought I lost my phone. They ported me out. I went back to my car. I found the phone. They ported it back, and I want to send them a thank you card. Like, could you tell me, what employee, what store that was? So they're, oh yeah, sure. And they gave me their employee ID, and I called up the operator. And you can imagine after 90 days of lies and blaming it on me and saying I must have allowed somebody to get a driver's license copy, which then resulted in problems with me renewing my DMV in California, and a whole nother story. They finally were like, oh, what really happened was we had an employee that they knew it was their last day, and they picked out like 3 or 4 people. They SIM swapped and we caught them, and they were fired, but you're all good now. It's like, no, I am now even worse and more angry, than I was before, because they lie to me. I had 10, 20 different people. Because I figured, like, if you're not going to tell me the truth, I'm just going to, in my free time, I'm going to call you. I'm going to spend time with you.
Mark, the PI, who knew that you were a private investigator?
Yeah, you have to reverse engineer that SIM swap, reverse engineer them back just to figure out, how they're lying to you.
Yikes. Well, you had provided a variety of tips, and one of the questions is, where can folks find the tips that you shared, and where can they learn more information about what they can do to protect themselves from Efani?
Yeah, so one, we're going to provide that to Crypto Tutors, and so you can add that into your documentation. We have an ebook on this, and we're happy to send somebody the ebook on this. And I also plan to do a video on it, so to try and make it like really short, precise, easy to listen to, like boom, boom, boom. And that's why I want to have like your ideas. So if you got SIM swapped, if you got your crypto stolen any other way that I haven't talked about, please let us know, because I want to make sure I add that in there. And so I hope to make, like, say, a 5-minute video or shorter. Just, again, it's kind of a boring topic, but try and make it very precise. Do these things, and then we plan to use that for a lot of people that are interested in Efani as well. Because what happens is when people call us, they're sold on Efani typically in the first 2 minutes. And then we have a conversation, which is, how do I secure my email? And what do I do about myself? And so we end up being sort of consultants. And I had one lady, a sweet lady that was, I'm going to guess, is like in her lower 60s, who actually, I went through like her bank and everything with her. And she finally said, what would you recommend for a handgun for somebody my age? And so I thought that was kind of funny that she actually took me through all the way, asking me to recommend a handgun, because she's like, oh, you seem to know a lot about how to secure this.
You know a lot about security, so let's go to like weapons and such.
Yeah, so that was like in the middle of COVID, and she was out of Reno, and so she's like, all these California people are like coming in and filling up the hotels, and I don't some of these people don't look right. I want to protect my crypto, but I want to protect my body as well. So
Hey,
we
Mark,
get some like awesome calls. So I like to say that we have like the smartest customer base on the planet, because if you're getting into crypto and you've done it for like 4, 5, 6 months, like you have to be pretty smart to kind of understand blockchain and then how to secure it, and then just, we have investors period that get on us, but crypto investors, we have great conversations with them.
Hey, Mark, we have a question here. Does it make sense to keep 2 separate cell phones, one for social media and general email, and then the other one for proprietary accounts or crypto, etc.?
So we have a lot of customers. I would say it's a minority of our customers, but we do have a lot of them who actually use 2 separate phones. And so, as long as you tie all your proprietary accounts to the Efani line, then it's secure. And so myself, I have 3 phones myself, and so I try and separate everything out that I can to make sure that nobody can ever access anything to do with that has things to do that are proprietary with me. So definitely we have people that use 2 phones, one for their public, one for work, and one for their private. And so people that have a lot of money, like our Black Seal price is like a 3-year term, $2,500 per year right now. That's our special price. And some of the people that are buying that, like $2,500 to them is like a grain of sand on the beach. And so they're just trying to make sure that they secure everything. But definitely 2 phones can help. But be aware that just because you have like the authenticator apps on a separate phone, thinking that you're more secure that way, the hackers don't care if you had authenticator apps on 5 different phones, because they're not trying to access the apps actually on your phone.
I have to call out this comment. One of our audience members said, kudos to Efani for unbelievably great customer service as well. Mark and Hasib were always spot on when I had simple questions and requests, even over the weekend. This creates raving fans. And I myself, in getting on Efani, had a similar experience. I think that you do a tremendous job of really holding the hands of your customers as they get activated, and through the process. It's a couple of steps, but it's great to know that you have guided resources over at Efani that can walk you through the process.
Yeah, we absolutely love to hear that, and we get those kind of emails all the time. So Will's one of the kind of our hosts that's kind of helping control things on this call. So Will gets rave reviews, and
shout out to Will.
We have other people that answer the phone, and the way that we built, the way we want people to think of when they call us is that we are an executive desk, and that we treat somebody who has $500 worth of crypto they're trying to protect the same as if Elon Musk called in. And so our help desk is 7x24. And even though Hasib and I, we're actually hiring people right now to add people, because our Black Seal solution is absolutely taking off, and that's a global solution. So now we even have it's going to be even more 7x24 with as the global solution grows. But we want people to call in and get a human super quick and get help. So we greatly appreciate that. Love the comment, because that's what we're trying to achieve.
Okay, great. And then just 2 more questions. I think you kind of answered it, but maybe just be very clear to this person who's asking is, how are your networks less vulnerable than, for example, T-Mobile?
How are ours less vulnerable?
Yeah.
So on the easy side is the Black Seal solution. So in order for us to provide the voice data and text, we're actually utilizing the mobile operators themselves. So we're what's defined as an MVNO, a mobile virtual network operator. But in addition to that is Black Seal we're actually overlaying our own private network. And then in addition to that, when we set up an enterprise customer, we're actually, in a sense, setting up as an MVNO of the Efani global network. And so that's all encrypted and protected. So we don't allow an IMSI catch. One, like if they're doing a man-in-the-middle attack to try and slow the communication down from like LTE down to 2G, 3G, not only are we going to detect that, we're going to notify the end user as well. But we only offer the LTE speed on a global basis. So Black Seal is easy. The safe plan, that is, it's $99 per month, and it's more based upon making sure you never have your account stolen away, and it has the insurance. And Safe allows you to choose from multiple US operators. So you as a customer get to choose. We have a lot of customers that use say Verizon, for example, or they use AT&T and they like it, it's good coverage for the area. They come to Efani and say, can I stay on the AT&T network? And now I get your security and I just pay you, I don't pay AT&T. And that's the way it works. Now, we're securing that SIM card because it's encrypted. We don't sell your data. We're going to make sure your account never gets stolen away. But if somebody had an IMSI catcher out there, and they're trying to monitor that, SAFE doesn't protect that. So that's why people that have a lot of money, a lot of reputation, that they want to protect, and they want to make sure that people can't track their location, you got to go with Black Seal. If you're just crypto investor and you've got $500,000 or less, and you're just sort of a normal person and you don't think somebody's going to be trying to listen to your voice, then Efani Safe is going to at least protect your crypto from being stolen.
Okay, and then one last question before we go on to our Crypto Tutors video, where we have a lot of freebies that we're giving out, so pay attention to our video coming up, is what happens when you get hacked and you lose a bunch of money? How do you recuperate this? And is there any insurance that you can get that prevents hackers?
So in terms of, that's a great question. So again, for Efani, it's easy. So if you're using either Efani Safe or you're using Efani Black Seal, and you were to get SIM swapped, it's not going to happen. But if you were to get SIM swapped, and because of that, they stole, $5 million worth of crypto, you're insured. So with us, you're gonna call us up and say, this has got stolen. And then Lloyd's of London is going to say, okay, let's take a look at this. And, if the SIM swap is why you got, that happened, then you're going to be secured. The only other wallet that I know of in the crypto space that will insure your crypto is Sumatri. And we actually have a partnership with Sumatri. And so it's in the very beginning stages, but they have a crypto wallet that is for, I wish I could remember the name of it, but they have a crypto wallet that is for both consumers as well as enterprise, and you can purchase insurance. So if if you want to insure $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, then they're selling insurance based upon that. And so if somebody was able to get into your wallet, even if it wasn't via SIM swap, then you're paying for have them insure that. If you're like on Gemini, Exodus, Coinbase, and you get SIM swap, for example, and you don't have Efani, you're going to find that people are not going to want to talk to you. I'll give you the example of the woman who got $500,000 stolen from her. She was not a nobody. So she actually had somebody who was a friend in the political arena in California, who then helped her get an investigator. And through that, CNBC actually was interested in doing an interview for her. And then as she proceeded, she told all those parties that she was going to sue the operator. And as soon as she told them that, all of them bailed out. Because if you think about, and so she doesn't know, why did they all of a sudden go quiet on her? But who's funding politicians? Who is paying for commercials on all these news channels? Which explains a lot with, whether it's pharmaceutical or telecom. You see, mobile operator commercials on news channels like all day long. So do you really want to be that news anchor that, calls out and says like, oh my God, look at what happened? Like, as of yet, if somebody else saw it, I haven't seen any anchor call out this latest data breach of 48 million records. The last person that actually called out where the US government bought location data from the three mobile operators was Lou Dobbs. And then 2 days later, he no longer had a job. Probably, unrelated, but so when you get hacked, the operators they protect themselves. They don't intend, it's not like they decide like, hey, we're going to protect the hacker. They go into liability protection mode to protect themselves. The guy that lost $24 million lost it from a SIM swap of a 15-year-old kid, and his lawsuit against T-Mobile was approved, against AT&T was approved for $240 million. That $240 million today is probably 5-8 times that amount. Because I think at the time when he got SIM swap, crypto was more like 10 grand or less. That's the scary thing about thinking about, even if you got SIM swap for 10 grand today, and then Bitcoin goes to like 1.2 million,
devastating.
and you're going to be like, oh my God, like, and it's, somebody stole 5,000 US dollars, like, but if they steal 5,000 in Bitcoin,
forget about it. That 5,000 in Bitcoin. I mean, look, I think you, did a great job, Mark, in just, putting things in perspective. We led with the headline that 80% of mobile hacks are successful. I think what you've just shared is, again, a testament to that. You yourself, someone who's been in the industry for, almost 2 decades, have been hacked, and that led you to Efani. So, and for the folks that tuned in, thank you for sharing your perspectives in either being hacked or some of the safety measures that we can take to protect ourselves. We have the checklist that we'll be sharing with folks so that you can start to verify where you are in your security process. And of course, if it makes sense, hearing from the Efani team, we would love to put you in touch with Mark and his crew, Will, and so forth. They're amazing, and you've heard it from the audience also. But thank you so much for your time, Mark. Thank you to everyone who decided to take time from your day to speak with us, listen to us, you're sharing your thoughts, etc. We really appreciate it. And this is just the beginning. And Mark, we will have you back on the virtual stage at the Crypto for the Culture conference on October 7th.
Yeah, so if you're an enterprise, definitely we'll set up a live video session. We'll take you through a PowerPoint. If you call in or use our chat line on the website, let us know that you heard about us through Crypto Tutors. So, and Lisa, appreciate you having me on. It's such a timely topic. As crypto rises, these attacks rise at the same time, and you make a boring subject, a lot more fun to do. So
I could have been a lot funnier, but I'm working on my material.
So now we need to end it on a very fun note.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Crypto Tutors. At cryptotutors.com, we have a free e-learning course, Make Money While You Sleep. Click Access Course for free and fill out a short form and let us know where you're at in your crypto journey. Gain access to a highly produced course with animations, easy to understand vocabulary, and get ready because we will show you every click and every step of the way. At any time, if you have a question, Crypto Tutors has your back. We have a team of tutors on standby that provide one-on-one tutoring that can teach you every step. How to set up your account, buy Bitcoin, transfer, trade, stake, and cash out. Or do you want to be edutained? Check out our YouTube channel at Crypto Tutors, where we interview trailblazers and showcase success stories twice a week. On October 7th, we are presenting the largest crypto diversity conference, and you're invited. Crypto for the Culture is providing representation where diverse leaders, including crypto celebrities and investors, are often overlooked. Well, that's just until now. Attendees can be edutained, learn actionable takeaways from each panel session, and apply to careers in crypto and blockchain. So I hope that you can attend. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you soon.
Thanks, everyone. That's it. And we'll go ahead and post the recording and email out all of the tips to everyone. So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's called Crypto Tutors, and click that bell so that way you'll get notified when we post the recording of this video. To please share with your network and your friends so that way they'll be secure as well.
Thanks, Nina. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you. We look forward to continuing the conversation, and let us know your thoughts. Subscribe to Crypto Tutors YouTube channel and comment. We want to hear from you all the time and on any of our social media handles. Take care, everybody, and make sure that you secure your crypto.